Corn Warriors is presented by Pivot Bio.
And last but not least, if you want your corn knee-high by July, better get the plant, boys.
Welcome back to Corn Warriors Season 6. It's currently June and all the Warriors have put their seed in the ground. Now it's time to move on to in-season management. You'll see airplanes, tissue tests, sprayers, and a whole lot of prayer that Mother Nature plays nicely and these crops stay healthy. We've got plenty of exciting and educational content coming up for you in this next stage. But first, we're going to check in with all the Warriors just before they start their in-season management. And we're going to find out who's got the fighting chance to win Corn Warriors Season 6.
We're in southeastern Virginia. We're in one of my fields here, planted in early April. It's been hot as hell here, as you can see. The corn seems to be handling it pretty well with the management practices we've been using. I'm probably 100% happy with the way things look right now. Today's gonna be close to 100 degrees, so we'll try to get out here early before it rolls up. Also, I have Fenton Yule here with me. He's with Nutrient. He's my go-to man. He's not only a friend, but somebody I can count on and help pull us into the way. Oh, he helps me daily. He just don't know it.
You just thought I didn't know that.
We're actually finding a few stink bugs out here, so in the next few days we'll probably get an airplane out here to put some more go-go juice down, if you will, and some insecticides along with it, and maybe even some fungicide. That's the plan as of today. All right, so let's go walk out here and look at this 400 bushel corn. Let's go. Corn looks healthy. We're very healthy. Like I said, we're gonna put some sugars and kelpine in here from Corey Atlee. We'll probably come back with one more shot in a week or so from here and another fungicide down, along with product from David Hewler, some kryptomite. We did it last year, and I think I owe a little credit to him for that as well. That's something that we're gonna use again, definitely.
Stink bugs in here too.
Yeah.
Just need to get on this quicker than this is right here and good, probably perfect for them to come get you. Plants look very healthy, very healthy. The new leaves coming out up here toward the top, all got a really good color. Don't see any speckling spots or disease on them.
No yellowing.
No yellowing in it. If you look at this plant right here, the leaves that we're concerned with mostly is this leaf right here, just below the ear and up. The ones down below have got some issues, like that one right there, but that's not really a main feeder leaf right there. So we put a pretty decent amount of ESN at it at top dress time, and hopefully we get a 60-day release, and that's carrying us all the way into grain field. ESN is an encapsulated nitrogen, and it releases by temperature and moisture. So if you don't have temperature or you don't have moisture, it will not release. Same time, the corn plant doesn't need nitrogen unless you've got temperature and moisture as well.
Only the best products from Nutrient for us. No, everything looks good. I tell you, the spacing looks perfect on this corn. Totally happy with that.
This has been pretty from start to finish.
It has. When Fenton came to this field, he actually called me and told me, said, man, you got a pretty crop of corn back here in this field. And just down the road, we got a 300-acre farm that's pretty similar to this. And I'm happy with, I think, most of all my corn. From what I can see, I think it's, unless something happens, it's going to be a pretty good crop again.
You coming for the crown?
I am the crown, my man. We got rid of the queen, now it's time for the king.
So right now we just loaded up Pivot Bio.
The Proven 40 product, which is very cool.
We're out looking at one of our Pivot Bio plots. I like the looks of it.
It's not leaching away in the groundwater. It's not running off when we get a hard, heavy rain.
Not bad, huh? Not bad. The Proven 40 is doing its job.
It's that missing link that keeps my plant where it needs to be.
Pivot Bio passed the test, I
So
feel
far,
like.
the Pivot Bio is checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
So we're out looking at one of our Pivot Bio plots. We actually have quite a few different spots where we tried, Proven 40 this year. As of right yet, we don't see any visual differences, but the corn's only at about V4. We'll start testing it a little bit later and seeing that. We're kind of looking forward to seeing what the results are. We used it on a few of the tougher farms that, are a little sandier, that don't have irrigation. It seems like their Pivot Proven's 40's own trial results is that it seems to work a little better sometimes on some tougher ground. What we're in right now, I wouldn't necessarily call it tougher ground, but I wouldn't call it a real high yield environment either. So this is just one of the fields we're trying it on, seeing if we could, save a little money on the nitrogen. We'll track it through the year, and we'll see how it does for us. So, used it on a lot of acres. I hope it works out for us.
All right, so we're out in one of this is actually a contest field. I had something real erratic happen with the planter. It's just the computer went nuts on me for a minute, and the planter started doing weird things. What it did was, I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there's 5 rows that are really thin, and a 6th that isn't quite as thin as these. But what it was doing, it was robbing the kernels from these rows, and it was putting it over on the other, like 12 of the other rows. So I got about 10,000 population in about 5, 6 rows here. So it's kind of what you would expect, when you got all that room. You got suckers coming out both sides. We're gonna watch this. It'll be interesting to see what this does. Those will probably put multiple ears on. They might even put ears on the suckers. And it'll just be interesting to watch. And what's really interesting is if we walk over here a few rows, it was taking all those seeds and putting them over here. So if you look at how thick these are, we're gonna have really thick corn against really thin corn next to really thick. And it's just gonna be interesting to watch how they ear, how they develop through the year, because I've always struggled once I get my pops too high as far as taking too much away. So, but we'll have a side-by-side here and we can kind of see it. We'll show it more during the year. We'll be back out here later after it ears and we'll take a look. We'll see if those did multi-ear and if any of these blanked out or they all put an ear on. Pretty cool.
Welcome to the intimate hour with Corey Atlee and Soil Test.
I love it. I love
it. Welcome to the office. Figured we'd take a break coming here. It's pretty hot outside, been 95 plus, so thought this would be a good time to come in. And when I say it takes 4 to 5 years to really affect change, this is what I mean. And I figured this would be a good time to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm a big believer within soil health, using biologicals and different things to affect your soil health, fulvic, humic acid, and things like that. That's not a quick cure-all. That's more of a long-term play. But in 4 to 5 years, if you can have more of a consistent soil profile built, then that's what we're trying to achieve. So we got our soil tests back for this year a couple months ago, and I just kind of wanted to share with you guys. But the sheet that I'm holding is just 2 pages. This has 3 years of soil tests on them. The reason why we do that is, which one are you more likely to look at? This sheet here, or this book of just 1 year of half the farms of soil test? So how are you supposed to make a change and affect your farm if you don't know what your soil is telling you to do? So we try to make a simple, easy chart based off of what your yield goal is. So everybody has a different yield goal, so everybody is graded differently. So this is graded for my operation with my soils, my soil types. So green is good, yellow is average, red is bad. Try to make it as simple as that, so that way we know where to allocate the money at. But I guess the biggest takeaway that I wanted to kind of share with you guys that has been a big moment that, you know, I've always been preaching soil health, soil health, soil health. So we started this soil test 2016 and all the way to 2022. One thing that I want to show you is we've added 54 parts per million of phosphorus in our soil just in 4 years. Potassium wise, we have doubled it. So we're still at a 20% saturation level with the magnesium. We're still over 200 parts per million. Calcium, have we suffered there? Not at all. We're still ranging anywhere from 1,300 parts per million of calcium to up to 1,700 parts per million calcium. We've actually added 1.4% of organic matter into our soil. So we went from a 2.1 to a 3.55. So did we do that through a bunch of cover crops? Sadly, I haven't had a cover crop on this field yet. How we have done this is use of tons of biologicals, keep them active, keep them living. We have minimized our tillage on these farms, stalk digesters, things like that. So we always have live activity going on within our soil. And I always limit myself with the salts. We're taking that approach, it has paid off. You can see here by the soil test in 4 to 5 years, we have a completely new farm and it's showing within our yields. Now we are more consistently than ever 100 beans, 300 bushel corn. We're trying our best to buffer what Mother Nature throws at us. And the best way to do this is starts with soil health.
We got Mark to come down from Concept Agritech.
We like to talk with the growers and get some of that history. That's what gave farmers returns.
We got some of Concept Sweet success. Get that soil biology ramped up.
We're getting a little bit of everything.
So this is the program we'll be running. That's all that's in there.
So right now we just loaded up Pivot Bio.
The Proven 40 product, which is very cool.
We're out looking at one of our Pivot Bio plots. I like the looks of it.
It's not leaching away in the groundwater. It's not running off when we get a hard, heavy rain.
Not bad, huh? Not bad. The Proven 40 is doing its job.
It's that missing link that keeps my plant where it needs to be.
Pivot Bio passed the test, I feel
So far,
like.
the Pivot Bio is checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
We're in the Pivot Bio.
Okay, so talk weather. We went the stripping on the bottom.
We had like 85 mile an hour winds and hail, and I mean you can see like where, you know, big stones. I mean, it looks like a
bruising in there.
Obviously, this leaf you can see like
it just shredded.
See how half of it. You know, I'd say this was some new growth, but yeah.
Ultimately, it's weathered the hail well, right?
Yeah.
From a recovery standpoint.
It seems like just on average the stalk size is bigger, and where I fight wind every day, it feels like, you know, that's important for me
when you apply nitrogen otherwise, there's always a degradation curve with that nitrogen. You never have as much on day 2 as you did on day 3 or day 4. With Proven 40, you've got that slow buildup of up to that 40 pounds all throughout that growing season. So yeah, real good stuff. Let's walk north here to take a look, and we'll pull some samples. And
All right, I have the last 4.
let's swing back to the truck.
Yep. Next probably will be a V10 Valtima application. Well, I run Headline and Valtima both. Really like the BASF fungicides. They've done a great job for me. What do you need?
Can you carry me, please?
Sure.
I'm doing corn on Wolverine.
Oh, yeah? How's that? Now you're way up high.
So as we were laying these plants down here, I mean, it's a slight visual difference, but you can see that difference. So our colored leaves are pretty stripped.
Yeah. Which we can still pull a reading from this. What do you got, Tim?
37.8.
So as we calculate all of this out, our plant biomass is almost the same. There's a 3.2% difference in plant biomass. And actually, the plants without Proven 40 are 3.2% larger. The chlorophyll content, however, is 30% more chlorophyll in the Proven 40 versus the check. So when we actually compute that back to nitrogen percentage, the nitrogen performance index, you're right, is 2.2% more nitrogen in the Proven 40 plants. By V7, where we're at now, a full V7, that plant has probably metabolized 30% of its total nitrogen need. So we still got 70% of the nitrogen to still go through, or for it to absorb. Roughly 5 to 6 pounds that we've now made up in that plant. Sure. So we still got a long ways to go as we look at making up that full, but we've already made up some of that difference in that plant.
The thing that'll be interesting if we do come back at tassel or R1, you know, you talked about it before, we've had a lot of big rains. You know, we started out really dry. So the question mark is what's happened, you know, to some of those synthetic sources? Has it moved through the profile? You know, we could see this gap widen as we get a little bit closer.
At the end of the day, we just want to make sure that we're making up that 40 pounds.
Next probably will be a V10 Valtima application.
It's so much more than fungicide.
Goes above and beyond disease control.
Really like the BASF fungicides.
It's a stress mitigator, it's plant health. We have applied a toad on this farm, you know.
Done a great job for me.
Definitely money made.
Yeah, absolutely. See how green this still is?
That's right. It's never too early to be talking about a program anymore. We come to this field because this is actually the field where we done our emergence score. And this was the very first corn we planted. And not always do you go back to the field the very first corn you planted, because usually it takes, you know, a half a day or so to kind of get everything ironed out, get the planter working right, get it all shined up as we call it. So V10, V11 is where we're at, and looks pretty good. So the population on this hybrid here, where we dropped 28,000, and for the most part, the planter done a real good job. You know, when we come out in the field, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the top of the plant and make sure that our leaves, we're looking at the colored leaf and how it's holding up for nutrient loss. But then the very next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the stalks. We're always, you know, I'm looking at the bottom of the plant as much as I'm looking at the top of the plant. You know, the stalk base on these is pretty good shape. We got to spread out pretty good. The spacing on this should be close to 8 inches. This is real life farming, not a contest spot. So on the management side of this is our again just normal production corn, but still every acre gets in furrow and every acre gets 2x2. Had just a small amount of fertilizer in it, and then we had our stuff that we think is a necessities, whether it's a sugar product or whether it's a phosphorus solubilizer, or we'll have that in our in furrow mix. And then our 2x2 is where that's our main chug. That's our bulwark. That does our chug. It's our 28. And our phosphorus is in there. Maybe some K, that's where our boron gets. It's just a good happy medium. You know, the in-furrow, you know, it's half water. You know, so we just get our gallons up to where our planter works well there, and it seems to keep everything good and happy and keep our budget in check instead of overspending, you know. We try to attribute bushels to certain things, you know, and that's really hard to do. It used to be that we wouldn't put a lot of in-furrow in. We could put in-furrow in on our irrigated corn, and we knew we could make corn with in-furrow products, but we can't always make money because at the time we was just solely focusing on just fertility. And we always wondered a lot of times, so we checked it year after year, you know, and it would be 3 to 5 bushels, but then I would be spending 15, 16 bucks, making 15, 16 bucks, and it's just not worth the headache part of it. So we would just do 2x2. Well, then we started changing our approach, and now every acre gets in furrow. We started focusing on what we think we need and got away from just a straight fertility. Yes, you need fertility in it, but it needs to meet your management plan. Because, you know, down here we always say it, you know, we're 3 days away from a drought. And, you know, we laugh about it and all, but, you know, you can spend a lot of money here on this corn and, you know, make 50 bushel, but can't hold a lot of water in these soils. You know, we're a CC of 7 to 9, and the holding capacity just isn't there all the time. Here where we're at in North Alabama, it's just, you know, you're going to get through, it's going to be hot, it's going to get hot, and we can't do anything about the heat. So like I said, we'll space the plants out pretty good and try to capitalize on that, but can't get it to cool down at night. That's a lot of, when you see it, you know, it's okay for it to get in the 90s during the day, right? And as long as it'll cool down at night. But when you see it up there and you start looking down here in the south and you start seeing it where it's 75 to 80, you know, 80 at night, you know, then that's when you know she's turning up the heat, because the plant just really don't get that breath and cool down in the nighttime. Even up north, you know, I went up there and seen Corey last year, and it was hot. You know, it's surprisingly a lot hotter. I mean, it almost seems like he's as hot as we get. But I think they cool down a lot more at night, and that helps a ton, you know. So that's one of the problems. You know, we'll have problems where we can get off and running, and our soil heats up a lot faster. And then he is that far north, or Dan's up there, can't get theirs to heat up where they can take off, you know. Each corn warrior that I've been to, everybody has a unique set of challenges, you know, and it's real world out here. It's the day-to-day stuff that we go through, and we just try to capitalize on the best we can, learn something from it, and move on.
Next week on Corn Warriors.
Mother Nature holds all the keys.
You gotta want this life because it's not an easy one.
I've been sold so many empty promises.
Some crops were damaged so bad you can't even tell if it was corn or soybeans that was there.